At a conference organized by the Institute of International Business and Governance at the Open University of Hong Kong, Professor Michael Müller-Camen, Professor of Human Resource Management at the Vienna University of Economics and Business in Austria, speaks on the topic of corporate social responsibility. He introduces two new concepts: Sustainability 3.0 and Truly Sustainable Human Resource Management. He discusses the importance of these ideas to the long-term development of human society, and by using various case studies of innovative companies, he explains how these ideas can be put into practice.
Okay, today I will give a brief introduction about corporate social responsibility, because that's important for the main part of my presentation. Then I will introduce a new concept called Sustainability 3.0 to you, and later get to human resource management, a concept called Truly Sustainable Human Resource Management, which I'm currently developing with some colleagues. So this figure, it's from an article by Carroll, gives you a good idea about the development of corporate social responsibility. As you can see from the title, corporate social responsibility has a long history. It existed for 50 years. Became very important after the 1960s and all the social movements you had, particularly in the United States. So it's a management fashion like many others which has come from the United States. There was some challenge in the early 1970s. The question was, have organizations and companies really have got a responsibility, or is the responsibility of companies not just to shareholders? So Milton Friedman said there's only one social responsibility of business, which is basically to make profit, and all the other, doing something good for society, doing something good for the environment, is basically the role of governments, of societies. Having said that, over recent decades there has been quite a big literature coming up on corporate social performance. So a business case for corporate social responsibility has been established, although not all business people have accepted this. But still, I think there's a wide-held view that CSR could help to win new customers, could improve relationships with suppliers, and could help to attract and motivate talent. Now I would briefly turn to current developments in corporate social responsibility. So we had an emphasis on business ethics, on stakeholder management, and one thing which is mentioned over there is sustainability and sustainable development. And that, of course, became important after 1996. In 1996, there was the Rio Summit. The former Prime Minister of Norway, Gro Harlem Brundtland, she shared a working group on sustainable development. And basically on the ideas which emerged from this summit and the work of Gro Harlem Brundtland and her committee, a business consultant called Elkington developed the concept of the triple bottom line. Basically, the idea of the triple bottom line is that organizations are not responsible anymore only for shareholders and for generating profits, but they also have got a responsibility for their people, also for people in their community, and they have got a responsibility for the planet and for the environment. This idea of the triple bottom line is very popular these days. You can see it, for example, if you look at corporate social responsibility reports or sustainability reports, because they are all structured around the triple bottom line. Quite interestingly, with the Bank of Asia, they have even put it in their title, because it's entitled Environmental, Social and Governance Report. And the interesting thing with these reports is that there are chapters on the environment, there are chapters about the community where these organizations are reporting on, and there are also sections on people management. And this is basically what I did over the last 15 years. I'm one of the leading scholars in the field of sustainable human resource management. And one thing which I've done over the last 15 years was that I've analyzed sustainability reports like this report of the Bank of East Asia. And obviously, I was looking for sustainability and sustainable HRM in these sustainability reports, but have now come to the conclusion that maybe what organizations are reporting there is not really true sustainability. There must be something else. Because when you read these reports, obviously there are a lot of nice things about social issues and support which organizations give to their employees. But it's really best practices in human resource management, which you can read about in these reports. Obviously, that differs between countries. So in Chinese reports, there will be something different from American reports or from German corporate social responsibility reports. Currently, there's a change. Something is changing for the worse or something for the better. At least we know that there are a lot of corporate scandals. It's about fraud, tax evasion. Obviously, the VW scandal has been quite important, because you would have never assumed that a German company is cheating, because I think Germany has got an image for being very honest, doing good things in business. And as we also know, there was this financial crisis of 2007. And this had led to new thinking in business, but also at least partly to new thinking in business schools. So sustainability is now something which business schools take seriously. And even our Vice Chancellor developed a new strategy after we got in our new beautiful campus, which you see on the right side, called Rethink Economy. So we have to rethink things completely, do something completely new. There's now an increased pressure on organizations for more, you may also call it real or true corporate social responsibility. And there are pressures by consumers, investors, and employees, which are felt by CEOs, and they have got the impression they have to take this seriously. And in parallel to this discussion, there is debate internationally about adaptable and more agile organizations. So organizations should become more adaptable and agile. And this is a nice slide which I took from the web, that there are different changes which are going on or which should go on so that organizations become more adaptable and agile. So there should be development from a focus on profit to one on purpose. There should be a development from organizing via hierarchies to organizing in a networked way, from controlling employees in strict hierarchies towards empowering employees, from detailed planning to experimentation, and also regarding businesses, from privacy and keeping secrets to transparency and open communication. Now I'm getting to the concept of Business Sustainability 3.0, which I came across recently. Okay, so there were two Swiss academics called Dillig and Muff. They have developed a business sustainability typology, and they suggest, obviously, there has been and probably still is business as usual, which is basically the model of business which is suggested by Milton Friedman. So the idea is that businesses should really focus on shareholders, on generating profits. However, when we look at sustainability reports, we see, at least to the outside, any big business can't anymore present themselves as doing business as usual. We heard about the license to operate, which organizations have to get. So these days, not sure whether it's for real, but at least organizations present themselves as being interested in three-dimensional concerns. So they are not only interested in profits, but also in the planet and in people. So there's something called refined shareholder value. However, Dillig and Muff argue that this is not enough. Basically, they observed, as I mentioned earlier, that corporate social responsibility has been around for 50 years, and we all know corporate social responsibility really hasn't had that big impact on the world yet. So the world is facing huge problems regarding climate, migration, water. I think all of you know about that. And Dillig and Muff, as well as I and some of you, will certainly have the idea that in order to address these problems and really get change, we need businesses to become active and do something about it. So they have developed the concept of Business Sustainability 3.0 and suggested that businesses who follow this perspective, they have got an outside-in perspective. So it's not anymore that the focus is on the business, on generating profits, and then obviously you try to do in addition something nice for the outside world. But businesses which are operating in the Business Sustainability 3.0 mode, they see problems the world is facing, and they would like to do something about it. That's their main purpose. Obviously, they need to generate profits in order to survive and to have a long-term future, but that is what they are doing. And this is also my impression, at least if I look at some of the books which you can see over there. There are movements or there are authors who describe very innovative companies which operate in a different way. There is, for example, in Austria, the economy of the common good movement, where there is a focus of organizations on the common good rather than on profits. More importantly, in the United States, we have the conscious capitalism movement, and there are some quite well-known companies associated with that, like Whole Foods Market, Container Store, and Patagonia, who argue that the purpose of businesses are very important and should be at the center stage. The research which I'm currently doing, as I said, it's supposed to go beyond analyzing sustainability reports. My idea is to look at exemplary companies, best practice case studies of innovative firms, and see and try to find out what are they doing different, and could this provide a lesson for bigger organizations. And I now would like to present you three companies which I'm currently studying. One company is called Tila Hase. It's one of the most innovative companies in Austria, and they are producing timing relays. And when the current owner, which is the person on the top right picture who is sitting on the right, took over this company from his father in 2011, he had the idea, okay, it can't go on in the way the business has been run for a long time. We have to do something different. We have to do something new. And he found a partner in the person who is sitting in the left. Normally, this picture is entitled Two Mad Person, One Idea. And so they came up with the idea to sack all managers in 2013. And although it's a very small company, it has become a pilgrimage site for German industry and for organizations in Austria. So companies like SAP, VW, they are very interested in what this company is doing, the experiment they are conducting, and they already got some awards like the New Work Award in Germany. So this company is quite well known, although it's a very small company producing not very innovative product. So what are they doing? First of all, they are not organized around departments, but around processes. Each of these processes has got a head, and this head of a process is selected by the workforce. Each process can send one person to a committee, or in fact there are two committees, one for strategic, one for operational decisions. Those responsible for processes do not have HR responsibility. There's a person from another process who has the HR responsibility for employees in that particular process. And the aim of that organization is to empower all employees, and they are also interested to empower production workers. So they try to guarantee full internal transparency of all business data, and this also includes training production workers about business statistics and business data so that they get an idea. There was one anecdote which was told to me by the head of the company, because formerly they need a head. In the past, when the business data was bad, I was the only one who has a sleepless night. Today, if the business data is bad, all of us have a sleepless night because all employees know about that data in real time. They also try to develop the organization in the direction of a startup company. And one thing which they did in order to help this process is that they've created a hub for startups who use their office and communal space as well as some production facilities. And obviously in such company, you need a particular type of employee who are willing to work in such an organization. So in hiring, fit with the values of the organization is more important than technical skills. And in any case, the selection of new employees is done by the team itself. And as mentioned before, employees have got quite a big influence. So for example, some years ago, they redesigned the salary structure, and it's also a company which is paying no bonuses. Then a second company which I would like to introduce to you briefly, it's called Upstalsboom. This company is widely known in Germany for its humanistic style of management, but again, it has only 635 employees. It's family-owned hotel chain, and they also experiment with new work elements. So one thing which they do, not across the whole organization, but some of their hotels, that salaries are decided within the teams. So there are open discussion with the teams, and everyone can say how much he or he would like to earn more, and then basically it's a joint decision which is taken. And this company has realized again that you need a particular type of employee for that. So one idea of the owner and founder of that company is personal development should be a core business process. One thing which they offered to employees is that they could go to a monastery. There's a very famous monk in Germany who is teaching business leaders and has written books about business leadership. And so they had an option to attend a course in the monastery. And as you can see from the picture, it's not only about top managers who are trained there, but also ordinary employees. So they could either attend this training, or they could do a corporate happiness workshop. And corporate happiness is about positive thinking, it's about meditation, it's about yoga. So basically they offered those alternatives. And they are also doing something special for their apprentices. And for these apprentices, they organized certain challenges. For example, last year, they organized an expedition to the Kilimanjaro, and this year, they organized an expedition in the Arctic zone, where basically the idea was that the participants get to their limit, experience their limit, and go beyond their limit. Because their ideas, if they train such people, that these will be the right people for the business, and they help them to implement these new ideas. And the third company I would like to introduce to you is called Sonnentor. They produce organic tea and spices. It's a small company with 320 employees. And when it was founded in 1988, the idea of the founder, who was unemployed at that time, and this company is in an economically disadvantaged region of Austria, was to create employment, and in particular to help farmers. So they are very proud of growth, but not of growth of turnover, but growth of employee numbers. So in the last 2 years, their employee numbers increased by 25%. And they also try to foster this growth by relying heavily on manual labor. So they do some of the packaging, which could be done by machines, but they do it by employees and by workers. They also try to source out some of the packaging to the farms, so that farmers in winter can do some work in addition. And as a result, their productivity is much lower than that of a comparative organic tea producer in Germany. But they are happy about this low productivity because they want to create employment in the region. And they are also very happy to emphasize the role of the farmers. So pictures of the farmers, of the people who produce their goods, are also shown on the packaging and in internal promotion material. Okay, so now I'm getting to the end of my presentation, and instead of presenting a conclusion, I would like to do something differently, because I'm also interested to study an exemplary company in Hong Kong. I'm not quite sure whether this company exists or whether I can get access to that company, but I'm looking for a company in Hong Kong which would fit nicely the collection of companies which I've acquired so far. And basically the idea would be to find a company which might be interested in mindfulness, compassion, and selflessness. Actually in the United States and in Europe, The mindfulness movement is very important. Mindfulness came from China to the United States. There was a famous medical professor called John Kabat-Zinn who introduced it to medicine. Mindfulness was used for treating patients. And about 10 years ago, mindfulness was also discovered as a useful tool in the IT industry. As we know, uncertainty, stress, a lot of different work commitments. So it's very hard in the current world of work for employees to survive. And Google was one of the first companies to recognize this trend. And there was an employee of Google called Shade Meng Tan. He basically developed courses at Google about mindfulness, and these courses have become one of the most subscribed courses at Google. And afterwards, a book has been published called Search Inside Yourself. Most recently, I came across a book of another quite well-known mindfulness consultant called Rasmus Hogard, which is called The Mind of the Leader. And he basically gave examples of companies which not only put an emphasis on mindfulness and awareness, but also put a focus on selflessness. For example, he mentioned the example of a hedge fund company where the CEO of that company is very proud that he established a company culture where it is common and accepted that lower-level employees can criticize him and even can criticize him in public. So this is something which he is very proud of. In terms of compassion, in this book, American company was mentioned, which during the financial crisis didn't lay off employees, but tried to keep as much employees as they could after the difficult times have disappeared. And my idea would be that I could find such a company in Hong Kong, maybe a company which has got a Buddhist owner or Buddhist founder, who has not only got such ideas which he tries to implement or she tries to implement in her private life, but also tries to implement in the company, and as a result, they may practice a different type of management. So that's the end of my presentation, and thank you.